All right, just a quick recap. 1985 Formula 302 SR1 I pulled out of a garage in Connecticut where it sat for 20 years. This specific engine behind me was rebuilt and never put back into the boat. When I tore it apart to remove all the PCM pieces and put on Mercruiser accessory, MPI Magnum, EFI and fuel injection, that's the same thing. EFI and HEI ignition, fuel injection, whatever, that special aluminum intake manifold. When I was doing all that, pulled the valve cover off, and the cam, the hydraulic lifters, the hydraulic roller cam, the rocker arms, all that still had assembly lube on it. So this engine hasn't fired up in 20 years. I started it the other day, blew out a couple oil seals. I blew out my seal again, and turns out I've got some sort of blockage in my oil, remote oil cooler line. Pulled the engine out. We thought it was a pressure relief or bypass valve at the remote filter hookup, so we pulled all that stuff off. Got in there, found that both of our valves were actuating as they should properly. Spun over the engine with the drill. I should have known better at the time, but 90 psi of oil pressure is way too much when you're spinning the oil pump over with a drill through where the distributor goes. I should have known better. We put the engine back in the boat, thinking we solved the problem, and as soon as I fired it up again, started instantly, but blew out my oil filter seal. So now, behind me, the engine's suspended in the air. I've got almost all of the oil pan bolts out, and thank you to the internet commenters, because I believe we've reached what the problem is. And it was an initial thing that I thought may be the issue. We're thinking that it's the oil pump bypass. So there is a bypass valve or something like that in the oil pump. I've had a couple of you guys comment, which has been awesome, saying that you've seen it before on other big block Chevys in marine applications. An engine builder specifically said that he had this problem, and it turned out to be a bad oil pump. So round 3, let's drop the oil pan. Let's check out the oil pump. I'm curious if, one, there is something that the engine builder accidentally left, like a plug or something like that, on the oil pump. I do have 2 other oil pumps sitting right behind you guys from other big block Chevys that do appear to be in good shape. We're going to check those out. But 2, maybe it is a blocked or bad bypass valve in that pump, which will cause extremely high oil pressure. So here we go. Let's drop the oil pan, see what the heck's going on. What we have here is a couple 454 cubic inch big block Chevys. They're really clean. They were fitted out with PCM Performance Craft or Pleasure Craft Marine, Pleasure Craft Marine engine accessories, heat exchangers, throttle body ignition, filters, remote oil filters, all that stuff. What I've done, I had a bunch of parts left over from the Chris Craft destruction of Mercruiser MPI Magnum ignition and fuel injection, as well as the heat exchangers and serpentine belt pulleys and all of that. So I've thrown all of those parts on these engines. I put new exhaust manifolds on them, new spark plugs, new spark plug wires, original transmissions. Everything looks really clean though. I'm happy with how they turned out. This is kind of an experiment because we have peanut port heads with very high flowing intake manifolds. So we're gonna see how the boat actually performs with this setup converted over to it. Here are all those old nasty PCM parts. I say nasty, but really all it is throttle body ignition. So carbureted big blocks converted to TBI GM throttle body ignition. So all that stuff's off. So a little bit of an upgrade for these motors. Unfortunately though, this one specifically had been rebuilt 20 years ago, right before this boat was stored. And again, go back and watch those previous videos, but this thing is about as clean as it gets when it comes to the 1985, this iteration make model of Formula boats. They had the square sport windshield. It's got the removable rear seat. They only made this boat for, I think, 2 model years. It did win Offshore Powerboat of the Year during those years, so it's a pretty iconic boat for Formula and their evolution of building speedboats, which is why I bought it in the first place. But that's not what we're talking about here today. when this engine was rebuilt, I'm not sure what happened, but I think the engine builder, or just due to sitting too long and not being used, there's some sort of blockage in our oil loop. So I checked all of our remote lines and fittings. We do have the correct filter. All this is clear and flows properly through the oil cooler. We thought at first that our pressure relief valves or our oil filter bypass valves were stuck down here, so we pulled this off in the last video, made sure those plungers and springs were all opening properly, threw it all back together, primed the engine with a drill, and put a gauge over here where the oil pressure sender is. We were getting 90 psi of oil pressure, and just to start it up, I threw it back in the boat because I can't really start this engine with the fuel injection and all that out of the boat unless I built a pretty intricate stand for it, which it's easier just to put it in and out of the boat. I know some of you probably hate me for that, but anyway, the moment we cracked it over, we blew out the oil seal on the filter. Didn't make as big of a mess this go around, but now, thanks to a bunch of commenters and a bunch of research on the internet, I think it's leading to our oil pump bypass. So either there is a plug that the engine builder left in the oil pump, or our bypass valve is bad. And if we come over here, I actually have an oil pump that I can show you guys. So here is a big block Chevy oil pump, and there is our little fitting that you spin over that produces oil pressure. You can see it gurgling. Yep, there you go. Nasty gurgled oil out of the Chris Craft engines. But what we think might be the issue is either there's a plug that was left here where this oil goes out. There's obviously where it goes back in. Or let's see, I think down here is our bypass valve, potentially. I need to do a little research, but yeah, that seems like it. Is that it? I need something to poke this. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. Let me do a little research, but there's something blocking. It's definitely making oil pressure, so it's not our pickup. But it can't get back to here, or some bypass is stuck where it's producing way too much oil pressure. So we'll see. Let's drop our oil pan on this motor and see what we've got going on. Hopefully this is the last thing we have to do and the last time this engine comes out of the boat for mechanical issue reasons, not out of personal desires and needs to improve it or change engines. Okay, not as graceful as I would have liked. Some oil was lost, but I was able to collect most of it. This stuff's so thick right now, it barely wanted to drain out, but there we go. Oil pan looks real clean, and our crankshaft and oil pump and everything down here also looks incredibly clean and nice. So, big win there. Some money was spent on this thing, and has made it a pretty nice engine. Here's our oil pump, however. So, you know, the first thing I looked at was our pickup. Our pickup is not blocked. There might be a little bit of, that's just oil. It's just cold oil. Pickup looks fine. It says 40 on it. Not sure what that means, but I'm not seeing anything that looks crazy. Next thing I need to do is pop off, let's see, 2 bolts. Where are they? I think they're over here. Yeah, I need to unbolt 2 bolts over here. Drop this oil pump off and see if there isn't a cap or something in there keeping it from bypassing oil properly. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we got going on. There we go. We got her. Let's see what's up. All right, there's the oil pump off. What's the dealio, brother? Come on. Oof. Okay. Well, I don't know how to show this to you guys without making an absolute mess, but like first impressions on the pump is that nothing looks bad at all. The pickup's fine. You know, if I spin the input, it gurgles oil out of there, obviously. So let me look up what's going on. Let's set this down here for a second. My hands are a mess. Underneath, it doesn't look like anything's blocked off. Now I'm thinking like a galley is blocked, but let me do a quick internet check and see where specifically that bypass valve is in the oil pump. Well, welcome to oil pump surgery diagnostics by Ben. I have messed with my fair share of oil pumps, but only in the lane of replacing them. You know, I understand how they work. It's just a G-rotor pump inside here. A couple metal gears. It's lubricated by the oil. They spin. When this thing spins clockwise, pumps oil up into the engine. And I mean, this thing's supposed to run on like, call it 40 to 80 PSI of oil pressure. So anything over that, unless this were like a super high performance engine, is excessive and can cause seals to blow out on our standard oil filter. So that's not necessarily what we're dealing with. Something is wrong with this pump internally, and it's producing too much pressure. So I just wanted to put these two side by side. I mean, they are the exact same oil pump. It seems it's not like this one is a high performance pump by any means. I don't know why they wrote 40 on it, but I mean, the number stamped in the side is the exact same number. Well, close. 1255586, 12555 866 something. They're the exact same pump, it appears. One's just a lot rustier than the other because it was an engine that had a bunch of water in it. So, I mean, I'm not noticing anything between these two that say it's crazy. Yep, there we go. It's a GM oil pump, standard. Here is our pressure relief valve, though, at the bottom. It's got a little pin that holds it in. So I couldn't really decipher anything on the internet there. That's interesting. This one's a press fitting, and they went ahead and welded this pickup tube on right here, so that's pretty slick. Yeah, I mean, I could tap that pin out, and then it accesses our spring for the pressure valve. Interesting. I guess let's tap that pin out and see what's going on inside of our pressure valve. Bypass valve, whatever. Remember, I'm not a mechanic. You guys are the experts here. At least you tell me that you are. So, I'm just a dude working in his garage when it's negative 2 degrees outside on a Saturday, having fun. You know, what else would I be doing? I'd be plowing snow tomorrow. What are you guys doing? You're watching this video right now, telling me what I'm doing wrong. I mean, tomato, tomato, guys. We're all just here having a good time. Well, that's unfortunate. I can't get this pin out with this oil pickup welded in like that. Clearly that was modification made by the engine builder, which is nice, but kind of makes for a bit of a debacle here. I'm definitely not going to put that oil pump in the engine because it's gross. Do I just buy a new oil pump? I hate to do that because this one feels so smooth. No blockages in there. These things are dang simple. See, that's the G rotor pump. Pretty simple, just spins over. That's what makes your pressure. Then our pressure relief valve is down here. And it should push pressure, I guess, where? Back in and I guess out this spring here. It should shoot out here into the oil pan. Oh, I don't want to hurt my gasket. I see the end of our little valve in there. I'm thinking this is seized down here because it hasn't opened in 20 years. So I'm going to pull this pin out and then see if I can't get that valve out of there and clean things up. Alright, well, we got our little dowel pin out. I just used a small punch. Here's our spring. So nothing looks fishy on our spring. Let's see if our relief valve will fall out. I think that might be the problem. It doesn't even want to fall out of there. Oh yeah, it's stuck in there, guys. That is definitely our issue. It is stuck. Nothing. Well, there you have it. 20 years of sitting there And there's our little rust ring. That's what was keeping this thing from moving. So now I'm going to polish this thing up, slide it back in there, put the spring back in, and we should be good to go. Alright, I got my oil pump reassembled. Just about to torque this up, 65 foot-pounds. This one singular bolt here. But this pressure relief valve, bypass valve, is sliding like butter now, whereas before it was locked up. So this should fix our problem, hopefully. Okay, distributor's back out. I've got my temporary oil pressure gauge here on the side. So I'm gonna spin it over with a drill with that pressure relief valve fixed, and hopefully you should only see like 30 or 40 PSI at high speed, not 90 like before. Yeah, never went past 60 at high speed. That's exactly what we wanted. Big time win. Let's get this back in the boat, round 4. Well, when you've done this 4 times, it goes pretty easy back in, but we got fuel hooked up, we got wiring harness hooked up, we got battery hooked up, positive and negative. Let's see if it blows its seal. This is what you guys want to see. Is right there. That there, right there is where it would blow. Don't see any blowing up oil. No blowing up seal. We have oil pressure. Let's do this. Ugh. Gosh dang, she's rowdy, guys. Woo! And no blown up seal. I probably should top off my oil. Just saying. Ugh. Just saying. I don't have any oil pressure on my gauge yet, so I'm going to check that first here. But I'm thinking we did a thing. I think. Let's do it again. Ready? Rowdy girl. I don't think my oil pressure gauge is working. Woo! All right, there we go. That's a win. No blown seals. We have normal oil pressure at idle, and she cracks right open. I mean, we might as well do the starboard one while we're at it here, right? Come on, baby. Fuel. That one's got 60 pounds oil pressure. They are rowdy. Oh man. All right, there we go, guys. Finally got a win. Hopefully in the next video these things aren't coming out again. See ya.